Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Hot Air Show. I'm Lloyd, and this is Tony Beelis. You've probably seen him from the first episode, and couldn't get anybody else there. So
Here we are again.
So back again, yeah, hanging around all the time.
Here we are, the fridge.
Anyway, what we're talking about today, all sorts of stuff. We've got a rifle to do a quick review on. And we're probably going to just chew the fat about the industry, aren't we? About what's happening in 2017, so I think it might be interesting. Anyway, thanks for watching and let's get cracking. First thing we've got today is we've got a new semi-automatic, am I allowed to say that? Semi-automatic self-indexing air rifle, yeah. Which is, we've got the new, well, it's just partly new, Benjamin Wildfire. You might recognise this rifle actually if you've been into the airgun hobby for a while, because you'll see that the back end is a Crossman 1077. The Crossman 1077 was a fabulous little rifle, 12 shot, CO2, 12 gram powered, lovely little magazine system. And what Benjamin have done is they've taken the 1077 and removed the CO2 bulb and put in, as you can see, a smart new little skinny pre-charged cylinder underneath it. I think they've done a nice little job. It looks lovely. Anyway, quick specs. This thing weighs 3.1 pounds, so it weighs virtually nothing actually. I think in old or in new money that's about 1.6 or 7 kilograms, so it's very, very lightweight. And what you've got from, let's go from the front to the back. In fact, again, you'll have probably seen a few people doing review videos. I'll just pull that off. A few review videos, so I'm not going to spend an inordinate amount of time about it, but basically we've got a quick fill cylinder at the front. Unusually for this one, 140 bar instead of like the usual sort of 200 bar. Which is what's that? 2,000 psi. Yes, exactly. Yeah, 2,000 psi fill. So it's actually quite a low pressure fill, which obviously means that you don't get as many shots. In fact, actually, I was looking at the specs on this, and they were saying up to, I think it was up to about 60 shots, but it's not what I've got. I was getting about 24 shots out of it, which is still okay. And the nice thing is, because it's low pressure, if you're one of these guys who are a masochist with a pump, quite easy to pump.
Yes,
up,
exactly.
It, really?
Yeah. Do you know what the size, what the CC is on that? They told you that.
It's roughly, I think it's about 40.
Oh right, well, that's quite small. Yeah.
Do you think that's quite efficient? Because
there's not much volume there, is there?
Not
so
really.
They can't go any longer because they've got the barrel. They want to finish it flush.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what you've got. Clearly what they're using is the CO2 back end.
Yes.
This is why it's 140 bar.
Without
because that's about as much as a CO2 will push out. So they're running it on a CO2 back end. They've put an air cylinder, which is very useful for most markets, because those CO2s you get through those in seconds.
Especially when a gun like this, which is a lot of fun actually,
yeah.
which I'll get to in a little bit. So anyway, just to cut a long story short, so we've obviously got we've got the pre-charged cylinder. We've got a 12-shot magazine, which is it's in a little unusual sort of box style fed. And on the side you've got a little button, and you pull that back, and then the magazine comes out. These magazines are made out of plastic, 12-shot, 177. Really, I think these are about £9 for 3 to buy as spares. And if you get one of these, I would definitely recommend some spares, because you will be going through them. So we got box magazine, which is really nice, and I'll put it back in the right way. You've got the pressure gauge underneath. You've got a single stage trigger, 11mm dove rails, adjustable sights. You have got a fibre optic on the front, which is quite nice, to be honest with you. I've been shooting this one with Alton sights, although I will be putting a red dot on it because I'm going to keep this one. I really enjoy playing with it, but at the moment I've been using Alton sights and the old-fashioned sort of ramp rear sight with adjustment, but you need a Phillips screwdriver for. Overall, foot poundage is roughly around about 7.5 with average weight pellets. About 6, I think I chronographed it 650 with 8.4 JSBs, so 650 foot per second. I think that's enough for close range sort of...
Yeah, it's a converted CO2 gun, so it's going to do that sort of power. The air cylinder adaptation, which is probably adding a huge amount of cost, that is going to make it more flexible and more fun for most shooters.
Yes.
And it's going to be fun at 7 foot-pound, but it kind of keeps it...
I'm wrong, it wasn't 7 foot-pound, it was 9 foot-pound we chronographed it
out.
It was a little bit, because that's right, I remember, sorry, the 1077, I chronographed one of those and it was about 7, so about 6 and 6.8 it was. This one was actually just touching 9, which is actually...
Was there a power curve, or was it mostly flat? I mean, was it dropping, or was it climbing?
Benjamin recommends 60 shots per charge. After 24 shots, it was going down a cliff.
Right.
I have no idea. Maybe it was because it was above freezing.
Well,
in America when they tested it, whereas over here it's...
A lot of snow over there at the moment. Particularly in New York, where this would have come.
Yeah, that's the point. So I don't know where they get the efficiency from, but 24 shots, which is 2 magazines, which is nice.
Yes.
And just enough power. I mean, it'll shoot small vermin. I don't recommend this for rabbits or anything like that. You know, rats at a push, to be honest with you. I've been using it for doing a bit of rat shooting with super hollow point pellets. And
177 only, is it?
177 only,
right, okay.
Yeah. I mean, who's this for? I tell you what, it's not for a junior, because do you remember the triggers on the 1077? It's the same.
The CO2 version is for Walmart, isn't it? You know, and that's what it's designed to be. It's designed to be a kid's gun in America, so that they can go and shoot on their land and in their back garden and have fun with it.
Yeah.
They've converted it for some markets to air, which actually opens it up to the UK market nicely.
Yeah.
But it'll add cost. You're going to tell me that in a minute, aren't you? And,
I am going to get to that, unfortunately.
And the 9 foot-pound, 9 foot-pounds, that's all right. It's not, a lot of PCPs only do 9 foot-pounds after a couple of years. So, this sort of thing, that's an acceptable power. It looks a lot of fun. It's beautifully engineered. If that was all metal and not plastic, that would be a fantastic gun.
And be 3 times the price.
And 3 times the price. Absolutely right. Yes.
So,
injection moulding cuts the cost. Right.
Well, I think they've got it. I think they've got the balance right, to be honest with you. Also, as well, the 1077 comes in a walnut stock, and I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to try to fit the walnut stock on this. I'm not sure whether it fits, to be honest. That might be interesting. Or they might even bring out a walnut stock version later on if this sells well. I don't really recommend it. I know it sounds a bit odd because it's so light in weight, but I don't recommend this for junior shooters because of the trigger. It's not a bad trigger per se. In fact, actually, if you've ever had a Gamo triggered rifle, you know how bad triggers can get. This one is it's a single pull trigger. It's fairly heavy. You've got to have enough strength to actually to pull it. It's how can I say this politely? It does its job and no more, to be honest with you. And when you're actually shooting it multi-shot for a bit of fun, you don't expect a fully adjustable 2-stage trigger, and you're not that bothered about it. And I've used it and I really like it. But I tell you what, when you actually come to put groups in with it and sit down, which it's not really meant for, it's not a target shooting gun, but obviously I wanted to see what it could do anyway. The trigger was the hardest thing to actually compensate for. But if you put tin cans out and stuff, in your back garden at 20-25 yards, absolutely no problem at all. So do not expect it to be a target gun. It's not really a hunting gun. It's actually just designed for fun. And like I say, if you are considering getting one of these and you're trying to get a junior into it, I would genuinely see if the junior can actually use the trigger and enjoy it before you purchase it. So that's a caveat. And there is another caveat. In America, these are $139, which is pocket change almost.
Plus sales tax, plus,
$139 retail, which is, about £110, something like that, UK money. Over here, it's £299. Yeah.
So I want to explain that. I'm not from Crossman, so I don't have to justify it.
I tell you what, I'd like somebody to explain it, because how the hell can it be £299 in the UK?
Well, there's the volume of scale. First of all, if you're selling 20,000 of these a month into Walmart and every other chain store around America, then you have that. Plus, of course, in America, the distribution. They're made probably from parts shipped in from the Far East, but probably assembled in Long Island, or maybe they're brought in bulk, and they ship them out locally, really. Now you've got to take a small amount of them ship them across the UK. The UK distributor's got to make a cut, otherwise he's not going to do it. You've got 5% import duty, you've got VAT, you've got handling charge for the shop, who's not going to work for less than probably 30%, and then you've got the end user having to pay that on it at the end at 20%. And all this adds to the overall doubling of the price, really, doesn't it? But, you know, is anybody going to want to sell it and not make a profit? No. So that's, if you want to go back through the chain and say to people, okay, we want you to work for nothing, to bring the price down. Still £300 for an air rifle in this country, not bad, is it? £300 for PCP?
Do you know what? I'm going to beg to differ a little bit, to be honest with you, because I'm always...
You think there's better stuff out there for £300?
Well, I think when you know, you always get that sort of saying, rip off Britain, don't you? Whereas basically you look at something in America and it's $100, and you look at it over here and it's £100, and people go, oh, actually, no, that's terrible because it should be like £70 and stuff. Obviously, they're not understanding about the import duty, and they're not understanding...
Also, the amount of people buy, you know, you've got a shop in America and you sell 40 loads a day. You're going to be happy with a lower margin. You're going to be happy with 10%, aren't you? If you're running a shop in the UK and you sell one a week, you're not going to be happy with 10%. You're not going to run your shop on that.
I don't think that. I don't think the price is right. To be honest with you, I think that rifle. I mean, how I look at it and think it's $139 in America.
Yeah.
Okay, so a distributor probably will be selling that for about maybe $80, something like that, plus taxes. So, say for example, you're a UK importer. You're going to buy that for probably $80. Right. And then you're gonna, and then I have no idea.
You've got a valve, you've got a magazine.
I don't know how to do it.
Air compression, air sort of pneumatic tubing, probably £10 worth of material there, and then you've got to do it for $80. So I take your point. There's a barrel in there somewhere. And I imagine that's
it's rifled as well. It's a 177 rifle barrel. I think that somebody somewhere is making way too much of a margin. It's not the retailer. I know what the actual markup is on this.
Yes.
Somebody somewhere is making way too much money on it. And funny enough, actually, just before we've sort of done this video, I was actually there is two Crossman importers in the UK.
Right.
Or there is now.
Yes.
And one of the first Crossman importer, I'm not going to mention any names, but what the first Crossman importer said, it's going to retail at $2.99, and I questioned that and I thought it was way too expensive. And it's not. I don't think it's right. The second Crossman importer has just actually announced that they will basically be able to, we will be able to sell them, or retailers will be able to sell them at $2.25. Okay. So all of a sudden, you know, there is a disparity, and it goes to show that somebody somewhere.
It's a big percentage, actually.
That's £70 odd.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just £70 odd of the total cost of the product. That's a sizable percentage.
So some retailers will probably be retailing these at $2.99. They're not trying to rip you off. They're probably buying it from one of the importers, and probably some other retailers will be selling it for around about £230. Obviously you decide where you want to go and buy one from, and at the end of the day, I sort of think at £230 it's still a little bit on the edge. I'd like to have seen this for $199. I think that would have been the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So would I recommend this rifle? If I was in America and I was paying $139 at the till, I would say absolute bargain, go and grab yourself one now, because it is awesome fun. I love this rifle. And I think, to be honest with you, sometimes we're a bit too serious with stuff, and you know, when you get one of these in your hand and put some tin cans out and have a bit of a
think about it, it'd be a great deal of fun. And if you've got a youngster, for instance, when my son Max was 10, I had an SM45, which is the CO2 airgun from Morocco.
Yeah.
And the sparklet bulbs, you know, one magazine, and you're putting a £2 sparklet bulb when the big ones are. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Steve Harper converted it to air for me.
Right.
So very similar to this.
Yeah.
Semi or self-indexing as it was, or probably quite close to self-loading that particular gun, and in tubular magazine firing pellets. And it was fantastic fun, and he really got the bug of shooting. From shooting that gun. Yeah. But if we'd have been changing sparklets every time we stepped out the back door, I think we would have probably used it once or twice. The novelty would have worn off.
Yeah,
probably if you're into air guns and you've got a pre-charged tank, and you can buy one of these and you can introduce a youngster to shooting, and you haven't got to fiddle around with loading every single time and the pellets and lead on their hands, etc. This is probably a great deal of fun.
Yeah.
So it might make a good little second gun for somebody who's got people who they want to introduce into the sport, and then 9 foot-pounds is absolutely more than
I mean, I get a bit jaded by like seeing pre-charged rifles being released every couple of months, and they seem to be exactly. Again, we'll get onto this. They seem to be exactly the same as the previous pre-charge, just with like slight tinkering, and you get a bit jaded. But I've actually really enjoyed shooting this, and I think it brings
some nice engineering in there. You can see where it's home market. They brought it into the UK. It'll sell it. They'll sell a few of those because they get a lot of casual people walking in the shops just looking for something to shoot. They're not going to be able to hunt with it. You wouldn't be responsible to send that as a hunting rifle.
No.
Not in 177 and not at 9 foot-pounds.
No.
But it's close to it, isn't it? It's not far off it. Yeah.
We used to shoot rats with a HW45 pistol at 6 foot-pounds, but we were looking at 10 foot maximum range.
Yeah, looking at that's where a rat is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's there.
Yeah, it's right in front of you, so great for that. Yeah. Before we came on air as well, I was just reading the reviews on these actually, and there has been some negativity of the rifle for reliability wise, but I've been assured by the importers that the reliability issues have been sorted out. So if you're going to buy one in the UK market,
that old chestnut. Yes, we had a problem. We don't have a problem anymore.
We've now fixed it.
We've now fixed it. It's amazing. Have you ever used that line before?
Do you know what? We've had a 100% record so far because every single one of them has blown up. No, we've had a 100% reliability record so far at the moment, but we haven't actually had that many, to be honest with you. And this one that I've been messing about with has been performing faultlessly. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you've got a UK warranty on them. That's a nice thing. So if anything does go wrong, and I've been surprised actually because the 1077's been about for donkey's years, hasn't it? And it's one of the most reliable rifles, and the one that puts the smiles on everybody's face is that, and the little.
Well, the Air adds another level of stress to it, and so they've got different fitments. So you're going to get a couple at the beginning, aren't you?
Yeah. Overall, thumbs up from me. I like it. Bit too expensive, but up to you basically. At £225, I think it's getting reasonable, and I really like the rifle. So yeah, not bad at all.
Well
done, Benjamin. Yeah. Right, there we go.